Forget everything classic cinema hammered into your brain. Mike Jennings is here with you.
And Peter Wolf.
Ahead of us is an absolute screen legend, a dog loved worldwide, the beautiful, proud Rough Collie.
This encyclopedia covers the essential facts about the breed, but also the practical reality, true character, demands, and challenges. But the final decision belongs to you.
Who among us hasn't dreamed of a companion that flawlessly solves every single mystery?
And that exact cinematic myth is the ultimate trap. Brutal reality swiftly shatters the fantasy, hitting you square in the face with the unglamorous truth of ownership. This isn't a plush Hollywood hero. It's a complex high-drive herder with a massive sensory radar buried beneath a metric ton of high-maintenance coat.
But their ability to instantly read human moods is absolute truth. They decode our emotions like an open book. It completely fascinates me. How does that even work?
Through a neurological sensitivity that carries a dark price. One minor mistake, a single second of poor emotional management, and you lead straight to a mental breakdown for the dog. Today, we are stripping away that television cape to expose the raw facts. You will see this breed in a completely new light, but first, we must ruthlessly calculate the cost of your illusions. The cost of illusions.
I look at this dog and see pure elegance. It makes you want to call a breeder immediately. Where do you even begin if you dream of such a noble companion?
Before you browse the listings, we need to crash your expectations into reality. The entry barrier is singular. Your free time and peace of mind become the currency. Forget about quiet evenings after a hard shift. This dog will immediately consume your nights with the tedious line brushing of a massive blowout and flood your home with sharp, piercing alarm barking at every movement in the hallway or the elevator noise. You aren't buying a lawn ornament. You are taking full responsibility for a psychological state fragile as parchment, where one wrong move can fracture your home dynamic for long months.
That sounds intimidating, and it's just the beginning. What else is this beautiful herder hiding?
That's barely the tip of the iceberg. The most brutal dilemmas that will turn your world upside down will be unveiled in the upcoming chapters of this analysis. Only then will we test who this dog truly belongs with. The Encyclopedic Baseline. Hailing from the Scottish Highlands, this screen king belongs to FC1 Group 1. Though that monumental coat suggests a giant, underneath hides a lightweight 30-kilogram herder.
Right, except not every Rough Collie possesses that massive lion's mane. What about the variations in that incredibly trendy blue merle coloration?
The breed also exists in a smooth-coated variety, which makes keeping them clean significantly easier. On the flip side, the merle coat carries a genetic time bomb. Breeding two such individuals dooms the puppies to blindness and deafness.
And how do you satisfy that massive appetite for activity? I heard this herder demands full marathon distances from us.
Their anatomy was engineered for an efficient ground-covering trot, meaning the dog can run without exhaustion for hours on end. You can only satisfy this drive through long, varied treks paired with scent work or mental tasks. A genetic stamp of the breed is also a defective blood-brain barrier. The MDR1 gene mutation, which turns ordinary medications into lethal poison.
The real test arrives, however, when this sensory apparatus collides with human emotions, laying bare our next profile.
Physical and psychological profile.
Now that we know what's buried in the genes, let's look at this aristocrat's silhouette. That narrow head and piercing gaze, what does that anatomy translate to in practice?
It translates to an acute perception. The skull shape grants them an exceptionally wide viewing angle. A Rough Collie registers motion vastly quicker than other breeds. In urban environments, that's a massive challenge. The dog reacts instantly to passing scooters or bicycles. Add to that a hearing apparatus sensitive as a seismograph. They physically feel the atmospheric vibrations before a storm, triggering intense dread and a desperate drive for shelter.
Wait, a rugged herder is terrified of a rainstorm. That sounds completely illogical.
It's not a fear of rain, but physical pain. Their hearing captures infrasound and static electricity builds up in that massive double coat, delivering painful shocks. This sensory paralysis immediately triggers blind hysteria. In a manic flight response, they seek any safe haven. If they decide the bathroom is that asylum, they will try to force open closed doors at all costs, just to escape the invisible threat.
So behind that gorgeous exterior lies an exceptionally delicate herder. Alright, how does all of this translate to home life and travel logistics?
The true challenge in the unglamorous truth of ownership becomes travel logistics. Forget about quickly tossing this dog onto the backseat of a compact car after a wet autumn walk. Their cascading outer coat absorbs mud like a sponge, so without heavy-duty protective mats, you're looking at a permanent upholstery detailing bill. After a rainy trek, a battlefield awaits you in the shower with a mountain of dripping wet debris. The ultimate verification happens, though, when these traits collide with the toughest doubts of future owners. Hard questions before choosing the breed.
You flooded us with inquiries about this breed, so it's time for hard-hitting answers. The first thing that catches the eye is that legendary, spectacular coat. Will this coat ultimately consume all our free time?
A lack of consistency will swiftly turn that hair into a felted, painful armor. Twice a week, you must meticulously break down the dense knots behind the ears, in the flanks, and on the thighs. During shedding season, it's grueling labor requiring a high-velocity professional dryer to blast the impacted dead undercoat from the very skin. If you neglect this, the skin beneath that felted mass will begin to rot.
So the brush is your weapon, and there is no mercy. Another burning issue causing anxiety for apartment dwellers is home acoustics. Does the Rough Collie really have to vocally comment on every single rustle in the hallway?
This is a pastoral dog with a genetic code programmed to alert the pack to any change in the environment. Their barking can be sharp, high-pitched, piercing, and incredibly difficult to extinguish, especially when a courier arrives. Managing emotions in those moments requires a grueling process of teaching indifference and a mandatory redirect of focus onto the handler.
Let's move to activity. Since these dogs originally ran across Scottish peaks, can an average human avoid boring them to death? Will they run us into the ground with endless mileage?
They don't need murderous marathons alongside a bicycle, but they demand intensive cognitive exhaustion. Mindless chasing after a thrown ball often just fires up their predatory drive and frustration rather than calming them down. You must replace basic running with tracking, scent work, or advanced obedience training. Without serious cognitive weight, these herders will quickly find their own employment, and out of sheer boredom, they can start destroying and chewing up your home furnishings.
Understood. Brain fatigue instead of muscle exhaustion. Another serious problem running through our viewer mail involves health. Is owning this herder a guarantee of endless, financially ruinous veterinary bills?
In addition to the previously mentioned MDR1 anomaly, a very real threat is CEA, Collie Eye Anomaly. Severe retinal damage leads straight to blindness. Buying a puppy from an unverified source is pure Russian roulette. Genetic screening of both parents is your only protection against a domestic tragedy and financial ruin.
That highlights the critical importance of a certified preservation breeder, and one final, heavy doubt touching upon their legendary psychological softness. Is it true these dogs are so sensitive they will shut down over a simple raised voice?
People completely misinterpret this delicacy. A harsh reprimand or a loud voice won't make the dog draw a logical conclusion. They will simply shut down entirely, freeze like stone, and refuse any cooperation, paralyzed by fear. Building authority here demands surgical precision in applying pressure, without a single trace of brutality.
If this heavy payload of facts organizes your knowledge and strips away those cinematic illusions, hit that subscribe button right now. On this channel, we don't peddle sugar-coated fairy tales about easy pets, but raw truth that protects you from life-altering mistakes. Your click builds this project. Stick with us, because in a moment, we move to behaviors that will completely shatter that peaceful movie image.
Surprises and misunderstandings.
Time for our favorite section, the collision of myths with reality. Let's smash the biggest absurdities into the wall. A widespread misunderstanding concerns an alleged spatial magnetism. Many believe this dog will always find its own way home if it gets lost.
That's pure cinema fiction. In today's noisy urban environments, a lost Rough Collie instantly falls into blind hysteria. The terrified animal completely loses all orientation and runs blindly away from the noise, which most frequently ends tragically under the wheels of a car. The next phenomenon is a massive surprise of a highly unappealing nature. We're talking about heavy hypersalivation under stress.
How so? They are the epitome of elegance and salon style.
You see an aristocrat, yet a simple panic over a vet visit or a car ride paired with motion sickness is enough for long, stringy ropes of heavy slime to hang from their jaws. Forget your standard watery food drool. We're talking thick, mucus strings with an entirely different chemical makeup. In panic mode, the nervous system completely shuts down the swallowing reflex and pumps out a fiercely sticky suspension designed to protect a panting mouth from drying out. In the unglamorous truth of ownership, this means a highly stressed dog will rapidly coat its entire chest ruff and your car interior in a slime that cures into a stiff, incredibly difficult to remove crust.
Another misunderstanding is the vision of an ideal guardian for a large yard. People think a big dog should just roam the property and guard the estate.
The yard itself is a fantastic space for a herder to relax and safely observe the world, but under one strict condition. You must first fully satisfy their baseline needs through a solid walk and mental exertion. Then, those few hours outside will be a time of healthy rest. The real tragedy begins when you treat a fence as a replacement for human attention and leave the dog to its own devices all day. That brilliant intellect starts running on a hollow idol, and empty isolation generates severe frustration. To survive that tension, the herder's mind retreats into deep compulsive behaviors. Instead of a property protector, you get an animal in a trance, pacing the fence line for hours, obsessively chasing its tail or snapping at invisible flies just to discharge the neurotic paralysis.
But the next surprise will hit you directly in the ankles, heel nipping and snapping at your pant legs. Where does that actually come from? These aren't aggressive dogs.
Because they aren't. Aggression is a completely different story. A herder harassed by children will never respond with teeth. They will retreat, looking for a quiet space. And that is the exact moment that absolutely demands adult intervention. It is your obligation to teach children that a dog feels pain, because this animal isn't a stuffed toy. It requires inviolable boundaries.
Another factor is child-driven triggers. Kids running across a yard after a ball can instantly ignite that ancestral herding drive.
Movement provokes a fierce desire to contain the entire pack into one spot. That's exactly where the difficult work begins. A tedious process of teaching calmness and ignoring stimuli while the little ones play. Can you carry that cost when results don't show up after the first week of training?
Sometimes I hear people claim that this dog is stubborn and slow to learn. What's the actual truth?
An intelligent herder doesn't refuse cooperation out of spite or a stubborn character. They simply cannot cope with excessive pressure. When demands overrun their psychological boundary, they wear the mask of a victim, dropping to the ground with pleading eyes just to cut the stress. This isn't an evasion of tasks. It's a desperate attempt to extinguish stress in the house. You must read that boundary flawlessly. In a moment, you'll see exactly who the ideal handler is for this herder and whether your lifestyle fits their needs at all. Summary.
We have dissected this herder to the bone, and it's time for the final verdict. For whom will a rough collie become an incredible reward, and for whom an overwhelming burden?
If you are a sensitive individual who can pair immense gentleness with iron consistency, you match their needs perfectly. A rough collie will happily pack up with you for any weekend getaway or family vacation, because they thrive on active exploration alongside their pack. The condition is singular. You must completely eliminate constant inconsistency. This dog requires clear communication and detests inconsistent rules, tense atmospheres, and constant shouting. However, if you're looking strictly for a living ornament for your yard or living room couch, you will be profoundly disappointed. We must also remember the mandatory commitment to hours of grueling coat maintenance.
With this breed, it's easy to let emotions take over. You see that majestic, fluffy marvel on screen or at a friend's house, watching it walk up, rest its intelligent head on a knee, and ask for affection. You instantly soften and think to yourself that you absolutely need this beautiful, perfect cuddle bug in your home.
And that is the most common trap. You purchase a heartwarming image and a promise of ultimate closeness, entirely forgetting the price that must be paid for it.
Are you still determined to cross the breeder's threshold and take this specific set of demands onto your shoulders?
The truth about this breed now lies right before you, and the final step belongs entirely to you. If this uncompromising analysis saved you from a massive life mistake, leave a subscription so you don't miss future episodes. And if you already have this herder by your side, make sure to describe your experiences with the breed in the comments. Your practical voices immensely help others make the right choice.
We would also be incredibly grateful if you appreciate our uncompromising digging into the facts by buying us a virtual coffee at buymecoffee.com. Your support allows us to maintain this high standard, and we've placed the direct link right in the description below the video. Until next time.